So in these problems, we're finally going to put all of our graphing stuff together. And we're going to basically graph trig functions that have phase shifts and period, changes to the period, changes to the amplitude, possibly reflections, possibly vertical shifts. So the first thing I want to do is kind of write down the order that we need to do the transformations in. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to look at the amplitude changes and if there's any reflections. So that is going to come from, and we're also going to put in periods, so any changes to the periods. So that's basically the stuff coming from the A and the B in our equation. And then after we do those, we'll do any phase shifts. Remember, the phase shifts come from looking at things that deal with C. And then finally, the last thing we'll do is we'll do any vertical shifts. So any up or down, and those come from looking at stuff dealing with D. So for example, let's say that I want to graph y equals -3 cosine 4x minus pi plus 2. Okay, so I'm going to make a fairly big graph here since we're going to be doing everything on this one graph. And so the very first thing I'm going to realize is that, I'm starting with a cosine function and the amplitude is 3 and it's also reflected. So remember, our normal cosine function looks like this, but since we're dealing with one that's reflected, it's going to look like that pink part. And it's going to have an amplitude of 3. So I will draw this first one, and we'll draw it pink here. And so if I label my axes here, this is going to be 3, or minus 3, I should say. So -1, -2. And then up here, this is 3. So 1, 2. And we're going to be worried about these 5 points again. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oops, not there. 5. So I have to worry about labeling these places on the axis. So because of that, remember the number in here attached to the x, that talks about the period. It changes the period. So the new period is going to be 2 pi over b. So in our case, it's 2 pi over 4 or pi over 2. So that means out here, this is pi over 2. Remember again, the way we found these slots on the axis, this would be 1/4 of that. So it's going to be pi over 8. This is 1/2 of it, so pi over 4. And this is 3/4 of it, so 3 pi over 8. And what you can notice is that kind of basically each of these tick marks is another eighth, right? So 1 pi over 8, 2 pi over 8, which is the same as pi over 4, 3 pi over 8, 4 pi over 8, which is the same as pi over 2, and we could keep going, right? I could put 5 pi over 8, 6 pi over 8, so forth. Okay, so there's 2 more things left to do. So basically, this pink graph here has taken care of these things. We took care of the amplitude change, we took care of the reflection, and we took care of the period. So, oh, goodness. So now we're going to do a green graph here, and we're going to take care of the phase shift. So remember that the phase shift is C over B. Right, so the phase shift is C over B. So in our case, C is pi. Remember, it's bx minus c. So in our case, that's going to be, c over b. So that's going to be pi over, our b is 4, so pi over 4. So what that means is every point is going to move pi over 4 to the right. So this point here, it's going to move 1, 2, over here to pi over 4. So it takes two things. It has to go 2 stops, basically, is the way I like to think about it. So this point here is going to go 1, 2. This point here is going to go over 1, 2. This point here, 1, 2. This point here, 1, 2. So our new graph looks like that. And then finally, the last thing we need to do is we need to do that vertical shift. So in this case, we're going up 2, that's the D. So each of these points, and I should have, so I know this is cheating a little bit because probably on your paper you can't do this. But I'm actually going to pull this down a little bit so I have some room. So 3, 4, 5. So every point on the graph is going to go up 2. So this is going to go up here to -1. This point's going to go up 1, 2 to 2. This point's going to go up 1, 2 to 5. This point's going to go up 1, 2 to 2. Oops. Oh, it would help if I did the right graph, right? I'm doing the points on the pink graph, but we want to work with the green graph. That's not what we have, so, whoops. Okay, so this point here is going to go up 1, 2. This point here is going to go up 1, 2. This point here is going to go up 1, 2. This point's going to go up 1, 2. And this point's going to go up 1, 2. So, and then that, before we had this axis here, so it's going to go up 1, 2. So that's going to be the middle point that we are kind of reflecting over. So it's going to look like that. So there are a lot of steps, but you just kind of have to do them one at a time to see what's going on. So you just want to do those amplitude changes, reflections, and periods first, and then after that, those phase shifts, and then after that, the vertical shifts. And that's, you just have to do them kind of carefully when you have more than one thing put together.